ones, empaths. These narcissists that are involved in your life realize very, very quickly that you're the best they ever had or will have. They realize this very, very quickly. But they find themselves in a conundrum. How do they tell you? How do they express to you? I see it in the comment section time and time again. The narcissist hasn't reached out in 6 months. The narcissist hasn't reached out in a year. The narcissist hasn't reached out in 2 years. They don't care about me. Look, everything I discuss in these videos is taking place beneath the veil, in the psyche of the narcissist. It's taking place in their psyche. How do they tell you? They've treated you badly. They've discarded you in some cases. They reverse discarded you in some cases. They become so toxic you had to cut them off. How are they going to tell you the fact that you're irreplaceable? Because you are irreplaceable, right? They can't tell you. You need to know this in yourself. Everything comes down to knowing it in yourself, right? It's not narcissistic or egocentrical to know your value. It's not. It's knowing the things that you've done that make you irreplaceable, right? It's knowing the things you've done, knowing the love you gave, knowing the care you gave. It doesn't make you a doormat. I saw another comment the other day about, oh, narcissists love doormats, something like this. No, it's not that. It's all about the energy. E=mc². Everything is energy. It's all about the energy you gave during your love. Now, you don't need to blame yourself for giving this love and care and support to this parasite. You don't need to blame yourself, because when you done so, you thought that they were a good person. You thought they were a decent person. You thought they were a loving companion. Your romantic partner. You thought they were someone decent. You may have thought that they were a bit rough around the edges, or they had some issues, but you didn't know that they were a narcissist. You didn't know, you didn't know the levels of the narcissism that you know now. You might have thought they were a bit ill, or you didn't really know, so you still cared about them, right? And you still cared about them, right? And everything is energy. The energy you gave when you were intimate, the energy you gave when you supported them, the energy you gave when you built them up, everything is energy. This is the supply that they're after. That's the supply they're after. They're not after a doormat, right? They're not after a doormat, because if anything, a doormat doesn't really give supply, right? Because it just coincides with everything the narcissist says or does, right? You put up resistance. You're a tough nut to crack, right? You showed that you're not a pushover. You showed this. This gave them supply too. All of those arguments you got into, when they were trying to gaslight you or whatever, manipulate you, and you showed some resilience. Even if they did go through with the manipulation or the gaslighting, and they become successful at that tactic, you still showed resilience, and you may have argued with them through the night, and you stood your ground. This all gave them energy, which is supply. It's your energy that is the supply, right? And this is what makes you irreplaceable, because when they get out there, if they get someone who just does everything they say, right? And now, please, I'm not knocking you. Please, none of you take this personally, now you're going to start thinking in your head, oh, but I done everything they said. Look, all victims of narcissistic abuse do it to a certain extent, right? You do what you do things, you get manipulated, things like that. But you showed resilience, right? You showed resilience. Think of the arguments you got into. The thing is, they knew you was under a spell. They knew you didn't know exactly what they was, right? And that's what kept you bound, because you hadn't awakened to the true nature of what they really were yet. But they know, wherever they are now, they know very quickly, it comes around very rapidly, the fact that you are the best they ever had, and they won't find someone like you again. They know this almost instantaneously when they get with the new supplies after you, because they transition very, very quickly. To stay informed on topics like these, subscribe to the channel. If you want to shed some light on a personal situation, book a one-to-one session. I do all countries and time zones. Join the Empath group meeting coming up. Links for all I've mentioned in the description box below. Look, they transition so quickly into these new relationships, right? And the thing is, they are accustomed to your supply source. That's why you're irreplaceable. The energy you gave, the love you gave, the support you gave, the way you built them up, everything you've done for them, right? You cared for them when they were sick, helped them, mentored them, like looked after them. They don't get that energy from these other supplies, right? And this is what makes you the irreplaceable one, right? This is what makes you the irreplaceable one, the one that can't be matched, right? It comes down to you being chosen. It comes down to you having an anointing on your life. The energy you give is so pure, right? It's not the same as what they encounter with these other individuals. It's not the same, right? The love you give is so pure, right? Which they get supply from the love, but it's the energy that you give. It's so pure and potent that they can't find something to substitute it. They can't find a replacement. This is what makes you irreplaceable. The support you gave, everything you've done for them, the way you've done things, the way you cooked, the way you cleaned, the way you've done anything in the lifestyle of living with the narcissist or being in a relationship with the narcissist. If you didn't live together, in the way that you held yourself in the relationship, gave such a potent form of supply to them, right? And this is what it comes down to. Please know your value, know what you're worth. It all comes down to that, right? Look, they don't know how to tell you the reality of what's really going on. They didn't know, they weren't telling you the reality of what was really going on in the relationship, because they were making you think that they cared about you, and they were making you think, they cared about you enough to get supply, but they made you think that they were a decent person. So they weren't telling you what was really going on, that they were really trying to drag you down, really trying to knock your self-esteem, devalue you, manipulate you, gaslight you. They weren't telling you what was going on then, so they're not going to tell you what's going on now. So this is what I'm saying. These comments don't make sense when I see someone say they haven't reached out in so many times. Oh, it's because they're with a new supplier. They're with a new supplier, but they don't know how to say something to you. They don't know how to, I'm not having a go, but they don't know how to say anything to you. How do they do it? They're stubborn. How can they lower themselves, right? And put themselves in a vulnerable position to tell you how much you mean to them? That will make them, they realize that they may be rejected. They're not gonna, some narcissists, this is what I'm saying, there's exceptions. Some narcissists actually go through with it. They become so desperate that they actually will tell you how much you mean to them, and you're the only one, and this, that, the other, and they'll come with a declaration of love. But many of these narcissists that you're encountering are not lower or mid-range narcissists. They're highly narcissistic. They're on the higher end of the spectrum. They're highly manipulative, right? And they're really deranged. They're messed up in the head. And a lot of those really, really deranged ones are so stubborn that they don't let you know the importance that you had in their life. And they're stubborn enough to keep trying and relentlessly go through supply after supply after supply after supply, trying to find someone that equates to your level or supersedes you, which they don't find. Further and further they go through these different supplies and different supplies and different supplies. It's like it has a negative effect. Going through supply after supply after supply has a negative effect on them. You become that prominent benchmark in their mind of who they compare every supply to, right? And they just can't find it. What you need to look at is, and I should have probably said this earlier, you need to look at the things that signify. There's things that they do. They might provoke you. They might do an indirect hoover. They might be giving you silent treatment. They might be doing something to antagonize you. These things signify how you weigh importance, how you are an important factor on their minds. The way they display their social medias after the way when you go east and they go west, when you have the breakup, what they display on their social media, when they glorify the new supply. All of these things signify that you're still on their minds. a lot of you aren't looking beneath the veil, and most of what I talk about on this channel, on our channel, is about looking beneath the veil and seeing it for what it really is. That's what I'm trying to get you to scratch beneath the surface and see what's really going on. When a narcissist glorifies a new supply on their social media, it doesn't mean they're living happily ever after. It means they're thinking of you. It means they're trying to make you jealous. It means they're trying to, you know what I mean? It means they're trying to wind you up and provoke you and bait you. When a narcissist goes silent, it's not because they've gone silent and they're getting on with their lives. It's because they're trying to reverse hoover you and draw you out. And they use silence as weaponry to try and bait you to chase after them. They try and put you in a vulnerable state. They don't want to be in a vulnerable position. Narcissists love to be in a superior position. They don't want to let that game up. They don't want to put themselves in a vulnerable position. You know, you operate with your heart. You wear your heart on your sleeve. You talk the truth. You're transparent. You're honest. You're kind. You're loving. You're loyal. You operate from your heart. You're authentic. They are not authentic. They are not going to tell you how much you mean to them. You need to look at the signs that signify what happened. Many times after a breakup has happened, when you've gone east and they've gone west, these narcissists involved in your life will do a hoover. And it goes over your head most of the time. They do something. You have an exchange of messages. You have a phone call. There's a belonging left at your house. There's something that happens after the relationship and you don't realize you've already gone through the hoover, right? You get a fake profile request contacting you on Instagram, or you're talking to someone on Instagram, or you're talking to someone on one of these other social medias, right? And you don't realize that it's really them, you know? And that's a hoover. You know, they're temperament checking you. That's what the hoover's about. A hoover is not a declaration of love. That's what people always get misconstrued. They think the hoover is going to be this declaration of love. In some cases, narcissists get so desperate, they know there's no other options. They will come back and try and use a declaration of love. But what does a narcissist do when they've left it X amount of time, when they've left it 6 months or a year or 2 years or even longer? How can they can't just come back with a declaration of love. They're bound in that way as well. They can't just come back and start love bombing you, because it's not going to work. They know they've left you for a period of time. You've evolved, you've developed, you've grown, you've ascended. How can they can't just come back and love bomb you. They'll try and provoke you after a period of months or years apart. They can't just come back with the lovey stuff. It's not gonna work. You know, as much as they're fools and idiots and total twats, you know, they know enough to realize that they can't just start love bombing you after a period of time apart. It's not gonna work, especially after all the hurt and pain they put you through, right? So look at this from a realistic perspective. You are irreplaceable. You are never going to be replaced. They will never find another chosen one or empath again. This channel is dedicated towards empaths and chosen ones. People that have high levels of empathy. People that understand what it means to be able to put yourself in another person's shoes. You know, you don't wish harm on people. Some of you probably are so good-hearted and pure-hearted that you probably don't even wish pain on the narcissist. I've heard this from many people in sessions. You know, they actually say in the one-to-one sessions that I hold, they actually say, "Oh, I don't wish. I wish them to have a happy life." You know, like that's how pure their heart is. Now, I'm not knocking any of you that actually wish for their downfall or wish karma to come and get them or whatnot. I'm, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that many individuals that I speak to actually don't even wish for pain to be inflicted on this narcissist, because they viewed this person as someone like close to them. You know what I'm saying? They viewed this person as someone who is an important person in their life, and they don't even wish harm on them. Now, that doesn't make you less of a person or less of an empath or less of a chosen one if you do, because I totally get, you know, wanting to see karma hit the narcissist and stuff like that. I totally get that, you know. And it happens. It's inevitable. They can't run away from karma, and that's the thing. I know for a fact, you know, I've seen it affect narcissists. You know, I know that they can't escape it. No debt in the universe goes unpaid. They will face repercussions for the actions that they've done to you. That's inevitable. It's going to happen regardless if you see it or you don't see it. It's going to happen, right? And part of the process is them going through this experience with the new supplier not being able to replace you. That's part of their karma. That's where their karma begins, and it happens very, very quickly after the relationship ends, right? They realize that they can't replace you and you are irreplaceable very, very, very quickly, right? But they're stubborn. What do? They go on to new suppliers. They try and find someone that supersedes you. They think they can still do it, you know? A lot of these had an image in mind that they were going to go on and find something better, and they just don't find it. They just don't find it. So when the narcissist finally comes back with the tail between their legs after a number of years or months or whatever, they'll do something to antagonize you. Or they'll say something that you've forgotten something at their house, or they'll do something pathetic. The Hoover is so weird. When the Hoover comes, it's so weird, it's actually going to make you cringe. It's so weird and deranged, and you're like, oh my god. And what that signal, when you get that, you're like, oh my god, you know. But like I said, many of you have already probably had the Hoover that come very shortly after, you know. Very shortly after them, oh, I wish you could have been like this, you know, or something like that after the relationship ended and you're exchanging messages or a phone call. I wish you could have been like this. If you could have just done this. That was them that was them being unsure about their movements, you know, and they were trying to lure you back. It's what they do, you know. They're so stubborn. So realize this. Know your value. Know your value, you know. This is, as I said in an early segment, this is not egocentrical. This is not narcissistic. This is you knowing that the love you gave, the support you gave, the genuine concern you had for this, the heartfelt, the way you let them in your heart, the care, everything, right, that you possessed within you, right, is such a high potent form of energy, such a high potent form of supply to a narcissist, right, that just will never, ever be replaced. It just won't. You're irreplaceable. So anyway, enhance your experience. Get access to exclusive unseen videos and personal video requests. There's a 3-day free trial and can be cancelled at any time by going to your account page. Thanks for listening today. Please press the like and the subscribe button. If you want to donate, you don't have to, but if you'd like to support the channel, you can. Links in the description box below. For more narcissism-based content, check out our other channel. Links in the description box. Please visit the forums. One of them is Tips to Heal, and I'd love to find out what helps you on your journey. Please book a healing session with me if you need advice or some light shed on your situation. The Empath Monthly group meeting is coming up at the end of the month. Limited space is available. There's a WhatsApp group for survivors to stay in touch. I'm also doing email consultations if you need a plan of action. The links for all I've mentioned are in the description box below. To know more about the narcissist felt beneath you and tried everything to make you like them, click this video here. So anyway, I'll be back with another video soon. Peace.